Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to the channel, and welcome back to Planet Zoo, where I've been working on this little mystery project, which you all found out what it was pretty much immediately, so big kudos on that. Maybe slightly less big kudos, I'm not very good at keeping secrets, so there you go. But yes, what I've been wanting to do in this park is build a little bit of a prehistoric park, kind of inspired by the series Prehistoric Park, which came out sometime in the early 2000s. For those of you who don't know, it was kind of a pseudo-documentary type series featuring Nigel Marven, and I loved it as a kid. It was great. It was, of course, with those early 2000s documentaries, they don't always hold up great accuracy-wise, but I still think it was fantastic. I really, really loved it, and I know many other people did as well. So I wanted to build something kind of similar in Planet Zoo, and with the advent of modding, I thought, yeah, this is something we can do now. Mods have been just such a game changer for kind of more out there builds like this, because of course the base game doesn't feature any extinct animals, though I'm keeping my fingers very crossed on that considering some of the critically endangered ones we have. Like, I do not want this game to like retroactively feature extinct animals. That would be just the most tragic thing. But yeah, I want to feature animals from the Cenozoic, which is why I'm going to call this Cenozoic Park. So think animals from right after the dinosaurs went extinct, well, the non-avian dinosaurs anyways, after they went extinct all the way up to the modern day. So we're going to include some really cool animals, and of course today we're starting off with the woolly rhinoceros, which is a very, very iconic Ice Age animal, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. But first, before we get any further into today's episode, I do want to quickly put out a disclaimer. Mods are not officially supported by Frontier, the developers of Planet Zoo, so they are, they have a small chance of breaking your game if if there's a big update or anything like that. But if you follow the tutorials provided by members of the community who make mods, especially Leaf Productions, he does some of the best stuff out there and is the go-to person for modding. Leaf gave me some really great advice for which mods to look at for this particular project, and of course, if you go to Leaf's channel, there's like a mod showcase every I believe every week, which is super great. But yeah, so huge thanks to Leaf, and again, just mod at your own discretion, but if you follow all the tutorial stuff, you will be a-okay, I think. Just before we get any further into the park build itself, you can see I've just been working on a little bit of road work ahead, but yes. Yeah, so I was just doing that, and I'll end up completing it at some other point. Custom curbing is really fun, and again, something I got inspired by watching Leaf's build, but a bit of a tedious process, I think, so I'll be doing it kind of between episodes. I want kind of a regular asphalt road that goes through the whole park and connects all the different habitats so that staff could get their kind of vehicles in and out. The concept for this park is really that of a de-extinction kind of program. There are de-extinction companies out there at the moment, which is kind of a bonkers thing to think about. The big one right now is called Colossal, which, appropriate considering it's the big one. And they're trying to bring back the woolly mammoth and the thylacine, I believe, which are, that whole thing, de-extinction, ethical minefield, as you can probably tell from the, innumerable amount of Jurassic Park movies out there. It is very much not something that's like super clear on like what the benefits are, why we should do it, why we shouldn't do it. There's a lot of debate, and personally, there's just too much there for me to talk about right now. I don't think it's necessarily the most ethical thing if you can't provide good quality of life for the animal, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what's most important. But in this game, it's just a fun kind of side project, and it's something interesting to think about, because like, it's just an interesting thing, I think, and I'm not gonna go too far into that right now. But yeah, so over here we are building the habitat for the woolly rhinoceros, and before we go any further, I want to just quickly credit the people who made these mods. I'm using a bunch of prop packs by Nicholas Lionrider, and the 4 rocks from NDPD Designs. And as for the woolly rhinoceros itself, that was made by Narwhaler. Narwhaler's done some really amazing paleo mods, so definitely see more of those as we go through this park. But yeah, for this habitat, I wanted to make it quite hilly. In the old Prehistoric Park series, they actually did feature woolly rhinoceros, and it lived on top of a hill somewhere. You don't actually see much of the woolly rhinoceros habitat in that series, but I thought, I'll keep with the hilly theme. Added some nice like terraces with some flatter areas. I think that looks pretty good. And I'm still keeping the whole vibe of the park quite utilitarian. I would like to imagine this is kind of where de-extinction happens and they put these animals in a little sanctuary area and keep them relatively happy and kind of like in an environment that suits their needs. So there's plenty of grazing space for the rhinos, and I would like to open it out a little bit wider later on. Annoyingly, this entire map I think looks so beautiful and I was really excited to build on it, but it's actually not that big compared to some of the other maps that you can get in the game. So in hindsight, maybe I should have chosen slightly bigger maps so I could give these animals more space, but you know, we work with what we've got, and I think for what we have here, this is a pretty good habitat for the woolly rhinoceroses. Is that the plural of woolly rhinoceros? I imagine so. But talking about the animal itself, so the woolly rhinoceros is, of course, a rhinoceros species, lived in Europe and Asia during the Pleistocene, so during a period of, you know, global glaciations. I'm not sure actually how global the glaciations were. The most recent ice age is actually the ice age I'm least familiar with, which funnily enough, because I've done lots of research for my job about the previous glaciation, so the Huronian snowball event and the Neoproterozoic snowball event, both of which are really, really interesting, but have nothing to do with modern day ice ages really, so not something I'm super familiar with. But woolly rhinoceroses nonetheless are one of those really iconic animals that you see from around this time period, alongside woolly mammoths, cave lions, for example. You know, those classic kind of ice age animals that would have lived alongside early humans. In fact, there's lots of cave art that has been found showing woolly rhinoceroses alongside people, which I think is just really, really cool, seeing that early humans have made art of some of these incredible animals that we've never had the chance to see ourselves. I think it just connects us to these creatures in such a great way, and I find that to be really, really quite cool. I personally used to always confuse the woolly rhinos with Elasmotherium, and funnily enough, recently, the only reason I actually found out they were separate animals was because recently there was this whole thing about Elasmotherium potentially not having a giant horn. And for those of you who don't know, Elasmotherium is that giant rhino-like animal that for a long time people kind of had the nickname of the Siberian unicorn, because it had this gigantic singular horn protruding from its nose. And then recently we found out that maybe it didn't actually have that giant horn, and then I was like, wait a second, so this is not the same thing as the woolly rhino, which definitely has horns? Yeah, turns out very different animals, and I was just completely mistaken for just the longest time. But either way, both are very, very cool animals. They have these really, really long horns either way. So Elasmotherium was thought to have these enormous, huge horn on its head, but the woolly rhino has much shorter ones, but still longer than most modern rhinos. They of course have very thick coatings of fur. Modern rhinos have much more just like thick skin. They still have some fur, like if you go really close to a rhino, which I don't recommend, they do have hairs on their body that look like, you know, very sparse, kind of think like an elephant's hair coverage or a hippo's hair coverage, but really, really sparse, barely even noticeable, because they live in savanna habitats. As for why I built this park in the savanna, that's a bit more of a contentious question. I wanted it to resemble the original Prehistoric Park, which was set in a savanna because of all the not cold-blooded, but basically all the tropical species like the dinosaurs. We're not having any dinosaurs in this park, we're having lots of cold-weather animals, so I don't know why I decided to place it in the savanna. But I think I wanted to escape the taiga biome for a bit. I've been building so much in there, and I think it'd be nice to build in a much drier environment for a bit, just for the sake of interest really, more than anything. Here I'm finishing up the habitat with some grasses. I end up actually removing these. These grasses are really nice, but they're just not the right color that I was looking for. And they just, I don't know, they looked a bit out of place. So I ended up replacing these with some grasses from one of the mod packs actually, which was, I believe a Nicholas Lion Rider pack, which was North American flora of some kind. So I believe this is called, is it like prairie cordgrass or something like that? It looks so good, you know, just some nice long dry grass that the woolly rhinos can go and snack on as they walk through this habitat. The animals look beautiful, by the way. I really love how they look. You'll see them in the cinematics in just a bit, and I think they're really, really beautiful. I added a couple marula trees here. I really like the marula trees, always have. They're one of the best trees in the base game. And I finally get a chance to use these umpingo trees. I think that's how you pronounce them. I'm not 100% sure. but they're really nice as well. And I think overall the habitat came out, yeah, I was quite pleased with how the habitat came out. A bunch of rock work just to cover up the sides. I wanted this to look quite natural, like it was built into this cliff, and like the staff didn't do an awful lot of work to the natural environment besides putting in some terraces and some logs and things like that, and adding in the enrichment really. One thing I might change is I might put in a larger access point so it looks like the staff can actually put in the animals. But yeah, that is it for today's episode. I have gone a little bit fast because it's a short episode. Next episode, maybe I'll try and take a bit more time to talk about the concepts behind the park and what we're going to do for it going forward. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Do let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And do look forward to the next one. No idea when that's coming out, which is whenever I have time really. But yeah, I'm quite excited for where this park is going to go. And I hope you'll stick with me and see what comes next. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Thanks to all the mod creators, of course, for putting out this stuff. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.